Chronicler Vithas had witnessed the fall of 17 civilizations across his long life, and he believed he was about to witness another one today on the dying world of Varith IV. The ancient historian stood aboard the observation station high above the planet, his four eyes scanning the destruction below with grim acceptance. Smoke rose from burning cities like dark fingers reaching toward space. The Krellick's dominion had invaded 8 months ago, and now victory seemed certain for those brutal conquerors. Another world lost, High Arbiter Zelkonis said beside him, his voice heavy with defeat. The leader of the Galactic Assembly looked exhausted, his silver scales dull from stress and sleepless nights. We have failed these people, Chronicler. Record that in your histories. Vithas nodded slowly, his recording implant capturing every moment. That was his purpose, to document the great events of galactic history so future generations might learn from them. He had seen empires rise and fall, watched species achieve greatness and crumble to dust. This war was simply another chapter in that endless story. There is still one option, Ambassador Yunso Ra said quietly from the corner of the command center. Every alien in the room turned to look at the human woman. She stood with perfect stillness, her hands clasped behind her back and her dark eyes revealing nothing. Vithas had met humans before, but they always made him slightly uncomfortable. Something about their calm patience felt unnatural. We have discussed this already, Zelkonis replied with frustration. The Assembly cannot accept military assistance from humanity. Your species has been part of our community for only 40 years. You are still considered a developing civilization. With respect, High Arbiter, that classification was made for political reasons, not accurate ones. Ambassador Yun responded without any change in her expression. My government is prepared to offer immediate military support. We only need your formal request. Captain Rethel, the Assembly's military commander, let out a harsh laugh. His insectoid body clicked with amusement as he spoke. Human military support? Your species barely has a fleet. We have seen your patrol vessels, small, primitive, laughable. What could you possibly offer against the Krellick's war machine? Vithas noticed something strange in that moment. Ambassador Yun's lips curved into the smallest smile, barely visible, gone in an instant. It sent a chill through his ancient bones. We offer what we can, she said simply. The debate continued for another hour while Vithas watched and recorded. He found himself growing curious about the humans. In all his centuries of chronicling galactic history, he had never deeply studied their species. They had joined the Assembly quietly, kept to themselves mostly, traded fairly, and never caused problems. Boring, really, not worthy of historical attention. But something nagged at him. He accessed the galactic archives through his neural link and searched for human military records. Nothing. He searched again, expanding his parameters. Surely there must be something. Fleet compositions, battle histories, tactical doctrines. Every species in the Assembly had such records available. The human files were empty. Not classified, not restricted. Simply empty, as if humans had never fought a single war. That was impossible. Every species had conflicts in their past. War was the universal constant across all civilizations. How could humans have reached space travel without ever fighting? Unless the records had been deliberately hidden. Vithas felt his curiosity transform into something closer to concern. He looked at Ambassador Yun with new eyes, studying her calm face and steady breathing. What secrets did her species carry? The alarms began screaming before he could pursue that thought further. Krellick's fleet advancing, a technician announced with panic. They are beginning their final assault on the remaining population centers. Estimated civilian casualties will exceed 40 million within 6 hours. Zelkonis closed his eyes in pain. 40 million innocent lives about to be extinguished. The assembly fleet was broken, scattered, unable to respond. There was nothing anyone could do. "High Arbiter," Ambassador Yun said, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "Request our help. Do it now, and we can still save them. Your tiny fleet cannot possibly. Request our help." The command center fell silent. Vithis had never heard a human raise their voice before. Ambassador Yun's words carried an intensity that made even Captain Rethel step backward. Salcone stared at her for a long moment. Something passed between them, some understanding that Vithis could not quite grasp. Finally, the High Arbiter nodded. "The Galactic Assembly formally requests military assistance from the United Human Confederacy," he said, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. Ambassador Yun touched a communicator on her wrist. "Admiral, you are cleared for intervention. Proceed as planned." "Understood, Ambassador. Fleet will arrive in 4 minutes." 4 minutes? Vithis checked the star charts quickly. The nearest human colony was 3 days away at maximum speed. How could any fleet arrive in 4 minutes unless they were already here? Unless they had been waiting. The observation station sensors screamed with new contacts. Vithis rushed to the viewing window and felt his heart stop. Ships were emerging from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Not the small patrol vessels the Assembly had seen before. These were warships, massive and angular and bristling with weapons. They moved in perfect formation, 12 vessels advancing toward Vareth 4 with terrible purpose. "Impossible," Captain Rethel whispered. "Those ships, they are enormous. Where did humans get such vessels?" Vithis watched the human fleet approach and finally understood his earlier unease. Humans had not avoided war throughout their history. They had simply never shown the galaxy what they were truly capable of. Ambassador Yun stood beside him, her reflection visible in the viewing window. That small smile had returned to her face. "Chronicler Vithis," she said softly, "I suggest you pay very close attention to what happens next. Your histories are about to require significant revision." The human fleet filled the void between stars, and for the first time in his long life, Vithis felt genuine fear of what tomorrow would bring. Vithis could not sleep that night, so he spent the dark hours studying everything the galactic archives contained about humanity. What he discovered made his blood run cold. The humans had not hidden their military records. They had hidden their entire history. The files available to Assembly members showed a peaceful species that had developed space travel through cooperation and scientific curiosity. It painted humans as gentle explorers, eager to join the galactic community and learn from elder races. But Vithis was a chronicler with access to deeper archives, files meant only for historians and senior officials. He found the truth buried in first contact reports from 60 years ago. The scout vessel that discovered Earth had observed the planet for 3 full years before making contact. Their reports described a world unlike any other, a harsh planet of extreme temperatures, violent weather, deadly predators, and toxic environments. The scouts called it a death world, a place where survival itself was nearly impossible. And yet humans thrived there. More than that, they dominated every corner of their hostile planet. The scouts also observed human history through their broadcasts and records. Vithis read their findings with growing horror. Humans had not avoided war. They had perfected it across thousands of years. They had fought each other with weapons of increasing destruction, from simple blades to nuclear fire. They had killed millions of their own kind in conflicts that spanned their entire world. One passage in the Scout report stood out to Vithis. The lead scientist had written, "This species has turned violence into an art form. They study war with the same passion other civilizations reserve for music or philosophy. If they ever unite against an external threat, no force in the galaxy could stand against them." Recommend extreme caution in all future dealings. The Assembly had listened. They had welcomed humans while secretly classifying them as a potential extinction-level threat. They had encouraged humans to focus on trade and diplomacy, steering them away from military development. Or so they believed. Vithis closed the files and returned to the observation deck as the first sun rose over Varith 4. Human transport ships were descending toward the planet's surface, carrying ground forces to support the civilians trapped in Krullik's occupied territories. Fleet Commander Park Jinwoo stood at the tactical display, issuing orders with calm efficiency. Vithis approached him carefully, still processing everything he had learned. "Commander Park," Vithis said, "may I ask you some questions for my historical record?" The human turned to face him. Park was neither tall nor physically imposing, with a weathered face and gray hair at his temples. His eyes, however, held a weight that Vithis recognized, the look of someone who had seen terrible things and carried them still. "Of course, Chronicler. What would you like to know?" "Your fleet," Vithis began slowly. The Assembly believed humans possessed only small patrol vessels. Where did these warships come from? Park smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We have always had them. We simply never showed them to anyone. Humanity learned long ago that appearing weak is often the best protection. Enemies underestimate you, and friends do not fear you. But why reveal them now?" "Because innocent people are dying," Park answered simply. "When children are being murdered, we stop hiding." Below them, the first human ground forces made contact with Krullik's patrols. Vithis watched the battle feeds with intense focus, expecting to see the chaotic violence he had witnessed from other military forces. What he saw instead was something far more disturbing. The humans moved like water, flowing around enemy positions and striking from unexpected angles. They communicated without speaking, using hand signals and subtle gestures that Vithis could not interpret. Each soldier seemed to know exactly where every other soldier was at all times. But it was their equipment that truly shocked him. Yes, they carried weapons, powerful rifles that cut through Krullik's armor with ease. But they also carried medical supplies, each soldier bearing a kit nearly as large as their ammunition pouches. He watched a human sergeant eliminate 3 Krullik's warriors, then immediately turned to treat a wounded alien civilian. "Your soldiers are trained as both warriors and healers?" Vithis asked. "Every human soldier learns combat medicine," Park confirmed. "We fight to protect, Chronicler, not to destroy. Any fool can kill. It takes discipline to save lives while ending threats." On the tactical display, Captain Rethol was arguing with a human officer about strategy. The Assembly captain wanted to launch a direct assault on Krullik's positions. "You have superior numbers now," Rethol insisted. "Push forward and crush them." Sergeant Major Lee Donghyun, the human ground forces commander, shook his head patiently. "With respect, Captain, that approach would cost us heavy casualties and result in significant civilian deaths. We have a different method." "What method?" "We wait. We watch. We let them come to us on ground we have chosen. We turn their aggression into their destruction." Rethol clicked his mandibles in frustration. "That is cowardice." "That is patience," Lee replied without offense. "Humans learned long ago that the warrior who controls the battlefield controls the outcome. We do not need to prove our courage through reckless charges. We prove it through victory." Vithis recorded every word, his understanding of humanity shifting with each moment. These were not primitive newcomers to galactic civilization. These were the inheritors of 10,000 years of warfare, masters of violence who had chosen to wear masks of peace. And now, for the first time, the galaxy was seeing what lay beneath those masks. A transmission came through from the planet's surface. Krullik's warlord Thraxus himself, demanding the humans withdraw or face annihilation. Commander Park listened to the threats calmly, then responded with just 4 words that made Vithis shiver. "Come and take us." The warlord's answer was immediate. Every Krellix unit on the planet began advancing toward human positions. 50 to 1, the enemy outnumbered them. By any logical assessment, the humans should be preparing for defeat. Instead, Vithis saw Li Donghai and smile, the same cold smile he had seen on Ambassador Yun. "Perfect," the sergeant major said. "They are doing exactly what we wanted. All units, prepare for reception. The hunt begins now." Vithis finally understood what he was witnessing. The humans had not come to fight a war. They had come to end one. Private First Class Kim Yuna pressed her back against the shattered wall and listened to the thunder of approaching Krellix forces. She was 23 years old, born on a colony world far from Earth, and this was her first real combat deployment. Her hands trembled slightly as she checked her rifle for the 10th time. Around her, the rest of her squad waited with expressions of focused calm that she desperately tried to copy. "Steady, Private. Sergeant," Oh whispered beside her. "Remember your training. Fear is natural. Letting it control you is not." Yuna nodded and forced herself to breathe slowly. Through the gaps in the ruined building, she could see the street beyond. Somewhere out there, 40 million civilians were hiding, praying for someone to save them. That thought steadied her more than any training ever could. The ground shook as Krellix's heavy armor rolled into view. The enemy vehicles were massive, bristling with weapons that could level buildings. Behind them came infantry, hundreds of Krellix warriors in formation, their red armor gleaming in the morning light. High above the planet, Chronicler Vithis watched through drone feeds as the enemy advanced on human positions. The scale of the mismatch was staggering. The Krellix outnumbered humans 50 to 1, possessed heavier weapons, better armor, and controlled the high ground. "They will be slaughtered," Captain Rethal declared with something almost like satisfaction. "Your humans are brave, I admit, but bravery cannot overcome such odds. This is why the Assembly never relied on your species for military support." Commander Park said nothing. He simply watched the displays with that unsettling calm that Vithis was beginning to recognize as distinctly human. On the surface, the Krellix vanguard reached the first human defensive line and found it empty. The warriors moved forward cautiously, expecting a trap. When nothing happened, they grew bolder, pushing deeper into the ruined city. "Where are your soldiers?" Rethal demanded. "They have abandoned their positions." "They have repositioned," Park corrected quietly. "There's a difference." The first explosion came without warning. A Krellix heavy tank vanished in a column of fire, struck by a weapon that seemed to come from nowhere. Then another explosion, and another. The enemy column was being torn apart by attacks they could not see or counter. Vithis adjusted his drone feeds and finally spotted the humans. They had not abandoned their positions at all. They had simply hidden better than anyone believed possible. Human soldiers emerged from rubble piles, from underground passages, from buildings that appeared completely destroyed. They struck, vanished, and struck again before the Krellix could respond. "Ambush tactics," Park explained to the stunned assembly officers. "We let them walk into the killing ground, then close the trap. The enemy's numbers mean nothing if they cannot find us to fight." On the ground, Kim Yuna squeezed her trigger and watched a Krellix officer fall. She did not have time to think about what she had done. Training took over, and she was already moving to her next position before the body hit the ground. All around her, the battle raged in organized chaos. Human squads communicated through encrypted channels, coordinating their attacks with precision that seemed almost supernatural. Each unit knew exactly when to strike and when to fade, keeping the Krellix forces confused and off balance. Warlord Thraxus roared commands from his command vehicle, demanding his warriors push forward and crush the human defenders. But every advance cost him soldiers. Every street became a death trap, every building a fortress of hidden enemies. Fall back to secondary positions. Sergeant O ordered through the squad channel. They are bringing up reinforcements. Let them waste more bodies on empty ground. Yuna followed her squad through the underground tunnels the humans had mapped in their first hours on the planet. They emerged 3 blocks behind where they had started, already setting new ambush positions. And then she heard the crying. A child's voice, weak and terrified, coming from a collapsed structure nearby. Yuna froze, her heart clenching at the sound. "Private, stay with the squad," Sergeant O commanded. But Yuna was already moving. She sprinted toward the sound, ignoring the danger, ignoring protocol. Behind her, she heard O curse and follow. The child was buried under debris, a young alien of a species Yuna did not recognize, trapped and bleeding. Krellick's warriors were approaching, drawn by the crying, weapons raised to silence the noise permanently. Yuna did not hesitate. She opened fire, dropping 2 Krellicks before they even registered her presence. Sergeant O arrived beside her, his rifle barking death at the remaining enemies. Together they held the position while Yuna dug with her bare hands, pulling away rubble until she could reach the terrified child. "I have you," she whispered, cradling the small form against her chest. "You are safe now. I will not let anyone hurt you." Above, Vithis watched this small moment of heroism through his drones. He saw a human soldier risk everything to save a child of another species, a child she had never met, would probably never see again. He saw the fierce protectiveness in her eyes as she carried that child to safety while her squad covered her retreat. "They are not fighting for territory," Vithis said slowly, understanding dawning. "They are not fighting for resources or political advantage. They are fighting for those people, for the innocent ones caught in this war." Commander Park nodded. "Now you begin to understand, Chronicler. Humanity has fought many wars for many terrible reasons. We have committed great evils against each other throughout our history, but we learned from our sins. We swore that our strength would serve protection, not conquest." On the tactical display, Warlord Thraxus was screaming at his commanders. The Krelliks had expected to sweep aside primitive humans in hours. Instead, they were bleeding soldiers by the thousands while barely advancing. Every victory cost too much. Every retreat invited more ambushes. "Bring up the reserves," Thraxus commanded. "All reserves, every soldier we have. We will drown these humans in bodies if we must." Captain Rethel shook his head in disgust. "He is committing everything. That is poor strategy. He has no forces left to protect his command structure." Park smiled back cold, knowing smile. "Yes, that is exactly what we wanted him to do." Vithis felt ice in his veins. The humans had not simply defended against the Krelliks' attack. They had manipulated it. Every ambush, every retreat, every seemingly desperate stand had been designed to provoke exactly this response. The Krelliks were not attacking the humans. The humans were hurting the Krelliks. "Commander," a human officer reported, "the enemy has committed all forces as projected. Phase 3 is ready on your command." Park straightened his uniform and spoke with grim satisfaction. "Signal the fleet. Tell them the trap is set. It is time to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten innocent lives in front of humanity." The space around Varath 4 tore open as if reality itself was screaming. Vithis stumbled backward from the observation window, his ancient hearts pounding with terror. Ships were pouring out of faster-than-light travel, not dozens, but hundreds. Human warships filled the void in perfect formation, their hulls dark and angular, covered in weapons that made the original 12 vessels look like children's toys. 217 warships, a technician announced, her voice shaking. Plus support vessels, troop transports, and carrier groups. total fleet strength exceeds anything the Assembly has ever fielded. Captain Rethel stood frozen, his mandibles hanging open in shock. This is impossible. Where did they get such resources? How did they build all this without anyone knowing? High Arbiter Zelkonis gripped his command chair with white-knuckle claws. We were told humans had limited industrial capacity. We were told they focused on peaceful development. Everything we believed about them was a lie. Commander Park turned to face them, and for the first time, Vethis saw something like regret in his eyes. Not lies, High Arbiter, simply incomplete truths. Humanity chose to present a peaceful face to the galaxy because we hoped to never need anything else. We built our fleets in secret, prayed we would never use them, and prepared for the day when prayer was not enough. Why? Zelkonis demanded. Why hide such power? Because we remember our own history, Park answered softly. We remember what happened when nations flaunted their strength. Arms races, fear, preemptive strikes, the cycle of violence that almost destroyed our species. We chose a different path. We became strong enough that no one could threaten us, then hid that strength so no one would feel threatened by us. Ambassador Yun So-Ra stepped forward, her diplomatic calm replaced by something harder. The Assembly classified humanity as a potential extinction-level threat 60 years ago. We know about those reports, High Arbiter. We knew you feared what we might become. So we showed you only what you wanted to see. Peaceful traders, curious explorers, harmless newcomers. We let you believe we were weak so you would never feel the need to destroy us. Vethis accessed the classified archives again, searching desperately for anything that might explain what he was witnessing. He found a file buried deeper than any he had seen before, a first contact, assessment marked with the highest security clearance in the Assembly. The file contained a simple question and answer. Question: what should the Galactic Assembly do about humanity? Answer: nothing. Leave them alone. Never provoke them. If humans decide to expand through conquest, no force in known space can stop them. Our only hope is that they remain peaceful. Pray they never unite against us. The assessment was signed by the original scout team leader and countersigned by the Assembly High Council. For 60 years, the most powerful governing body in the galaxy had been terrified of a species they publicly dismissed as primitive newcomers. On the planet below, the Krellix forces finally realized their danger. Warlord Thraxus had committed every soldier to crushing the human ground forces, leaving his orbital fleet exposed and his command structure unprotected. All units, Phase 3 is active. Sergeant Major Lee announced through the ground channels. Switch from defense to assault. Drive them toward the designated kill zones. Leave no escape routes. The change was immediate and terrifying. Human soldiers who had been retreating and hiding suddenly attacked with overwhelming aggression. They pushed forward in coordinated waves, their movements guided by drone surveillance and real-time tactical analysis. Every Krellix unit that tried to retreat found humans already blocking their path. Vethis watched the battlefields in horrified fascination. The humans were not simply defeating the Krellix. They were destroying them with surgical precision. They targeted officers first, breaking command structures. Then communications, isolating units from each other. Then heavy weapons, removing any chance of organized resistance. They are hurting them, Captain Rethel whispered. Like animals to slaughter. Like threats to containment, Park corrected. We do not enjoy killing, Captain. Every Krellix soldier who dies today is a tragedy we would have preferred to avoid. But they chose to murder civilians, and that choice has consequences. Warlord Thraxus made one final desperate move. His remaining forces seized a civilian shelter containing thousands of refugees. He broadcast a message to the human fleet, his voice trembling with rage and fear. Humans, Withdraw immediately, or I will execute every hostage. Their blood will be on your hands." The command center fell silent. Vithis saw horror on assembly faces. They had witnessed hostage situations before, and they always ended badly. The Krelliks held all the leverage. But Commander Park's expression did not change. He opened a direct channel to the warlord and spoke with a voice as cold as the void between stars. "You have made a serious mistake, warlord. Until now, we were fighting to defeat you. You have just made it personal. Every human in this fleet now has one mission: rescuing those hostages and making you answer for your crimes. We will not negotiate. We will not retreat. We will come for those people, and nothing in this galaxy will stop us. You would sacrifice your precious civilians?" Thraxus laughed nervously. "We will save them," Park replied. "And when we do, you will face justice. Human justice. That should terrify you, because we have 10,000 years of experience dealing with war criminals." The channel closed. Park turned to his tactical officers. "Activate the rescue protocols. I want special forces on the ground in 15 minutes. Orbital support standing by for precision strikes. We end this today. No more innocent blood." Vithis watched the human fleet move with terrifying purpose. Dropships launched toward the hostage location. Warships positioned themselves for surgical bombardment. Everything the humans had done so far had been preparation for this moment. They were about to show the galaxy exactly why humanity should never, ever be provoked. And Vithis finally understood the truth hidden in those old first contact reports. The galaxy did not fear human weapons or tactics or numbers. They feared what humans became when innocent lives hung in the balance. They feared a species that would burn worlds to protect a single child. They feared the righteous fury of protectors who had sworn oaths written in the blood of their own terrible history. The assault began, and Vithis could only watch and pray that he would survive to record what came next. The battle for Varath 4 ended 72 hours after it began. Chronicler Vithis walked through the liberated streets, his recording implant capturing everything: the rubble and the reconstruction, the wounded and the healers, the dead and the living. Human soldiers moved among the survivors, distributing food and medical supplies with the same efficiency they had shown in combat. Everywhere he looked, Vithis saw the paradox of humanity on display. Here was Sergeant Major Lee Dong-Hyun, the man who had orchestrated the destruction of an entire Krellik's army, now kneeling beside a frightened alien child and offering her a piece of chocolate from his personal rations. There was Private Kim Yuna, the young soldier who had killed dozens of enemy warriors, now helping elderly refugees find their missing family members. The Krellik's forces had been utterly defeated. Their fleet was captured or destroyed. Their ground army had surrendered after the hostage rescue operation succeeded without losing a single civilian. Warlord Thraxus himself had been taken alive, dragged from his command bunker by human special forces who could have easily killed him. "Why did you spare him?" Vithis asked Commander Park as they watched Thraxus being loaded onto a prison transport. "He threatened to murder thousands. He ordered atrocities against civilians. By any measure of justice, he deserves death." Park was quiet for a long moment before answering. "Justice and vengeance are not the same thing, Chronicler. Executing him in the heat of battle would have been easy, satisfying, even. But we have learned, through centuries of terrible mistakes, that killing our enemies does not bring peace. Only understanding brings peace. Only addressing the causes of conflict prevents future wars. So what will happen to him? He will stand trial before the Galactic Assembly. He will face judgment for his crimes, and the galaxy will see that humanity believes in law over revenge. That matters more than any battlefield victory." Vithis processed this slowly. Every other military power he had studied throughout his long career would have made an example of a defeated enemy. The Krelliks themselves executed prisoners as a matter of policy. But humans, the deadliest warriors the galaxy had ever seen, chose mercy. He found Ambassador Yunsura at the main relief center, coordinating aid shipments with assembly officials who still looked shell-shocked. The human woman was calm and professional, showing no sign of fatigue despite working without sleep for 3 days. "Ambassador," Vithis said, "I have watched your people fight, and I have watched them heal. I have seen them kill without hesitation and show compassion without limits. I have to ask, how do you reconcile these things? How can the same species be both so violent and so kind?" Ambassador Yun smiled, and for the first time, it reached her eyes. "You asked the question that humans have struggled with throughout our entire history, Chronicler. We are creatures of contradiction, capable of the greatest cruelty and the greatest love. We have slaughtered millions of our own kind, and we have sacrificed ourselves to save strangers. Both are equally human." "That does not answer my question." "Perhaps not. But here is what I can tell you. We have seen what happens when we give in to our worst impulses. We have witnessed the consequences of hate, of fear, of the desire to dominate. We nearly destroyed ourselves more than once. And from that terrible knowledge, we made a choice." "What choice?" "To be better. Not perfect. We will never be perfect. But better than we were. Better than our history. Better than the darkness in our souls. We choose to protect instead of conquer. To heal instead of harm. To offer mercy instead of vengeance. Every day, every hour, every moment, we choose." Vithis felt something shift inside him, a new understanding taking root. He had chronicled countless civilizations throughout his career. He had watched empires rise through conquest and fall through corruption. He had believed that power and morality were opposing forces, that strength required cruelty. But humans proved something different. They had achieved power beyond any species in galactic history, power they had hidden for decades while playing the role of peaceful newcomers. They could have conquered the galaxy. They could have demanded tribute, forced other species to submit, built an empire to rival any in history. Instead, they had waited. They had watched and learned and prepared. And when innocent lives needed protection, they had revealed their strength not as conquerors, but as guardians. The galaxy feared humanity, and now Vithis understood why. They feared a species that could destroy them utterly, but chose not to. They feared warriors who killed without pleasure and healed without reward. They feared the knowledge that humans had, looked into the abyss of their own potential for evil, and emerged with the determination to be good. High Arbiter Zelkonis approached Vithis later that evening, looking older than he had just days ago. "Chronicler, what will you write about these events? How will history remember what happened here?" Vithis considered the question carefully. "I will write the truth, High Arbiter. I will write that humanity revealed themselves to be the most dangerous species the galaxy has ever known, and also the most noble. I will write that they could have been our destroyers, but chose to be our protectors. And I will write a warning." "A warning?" "Yes. A warning to any civilization that threatens innocent lives in the presence of humanity. A warning that the galaxy's newest species is also its oldest warriors, a people who have spent 10,000 years learning the arts of war and the values of peace. A warning that humans do not seek conflict, but when conflict finds them, they end it with overwhelming force and absolute commitment." Zelkonis nodded slowly. "And will the galaxy heed this warning?" "Some will. Some will not. That is the nature of history." Vithis paused, then added quietly, "But I believe the Galactic Assembly will never look at humanity the same way again. You have seen what they are capable of, both the violence and the compassion. You have seen why the first contact teams were so afraid. They were right to fear. No, High Arbiter. They were right to hope. Vithis gestured toward the human soldiers still working among the refugees. Look at them. They could crush any force that opposes them, yet they choose to spend their strength lifting others up. The galaxy does not need to fear humanity. It needs to deserve them. Ambassador Yun appeared beside them, her work finally done for the moment. She looked out at the recovering city, at the humans and aliens working side by side, and smiled. Chronicler Vithis, Commander Park tells me you will be writing an extensive history of this conflict. May I ask what title you will give it? Vithis thought about everything he had witnessed. The fear, the revelation, the violence, the mercy. He thought about the question the galaxy would ask for generations to come. I will call it, Watching Humanity Enter the Battlefield Revealed Why the Galaxy Fears Them, he said. But the truth is, the galaxy should not fear humanity. They should thank whatever powers they believe in that humans chose to be protectors instead of predators. Ambassador Yun nodded. That choice is made new every day, Chronicler. Remember that. We are not permanently good or permanently evil. We are human, and we choose who we become. Today, we chose to save lives. Tomorrow, we will make the same choice again. The sun set over Vareth IV, and Vithis began writing the chronicle that would change how the galaxy understood its most mysterious members. Humanity had entered the battlefield, and nothing would ever be the same.